and welcome to this edition of Exclusive Interview, coming to you from 84 TV Radio, Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Stanley Bentu. Recently, we received the sad news that veteran actor Sadiq DABA passed away. Now, he had been struggling with an illness for quite some time, and he fought bravely, but ultimately he had to go home. We feel very sad about this. We only have the wonderful memories that he left behind. Sadiq was one of the major actors in one of Nigeria's most popular soap operas, Cockerel Dawn. So, we want to take a look back at the remarkable life of this man and this series that changed Nigerian television forever. Take a look at this report.
Nigeria stood still on the 3rd of March 2021 when it was announced that veteran actor and broadcaster Sadiq DABA had died. Social and mainstream media became a beehive of activities, with many paying tribute to DABA and recalling his breakout role in the very popular classic television series Cockerel at Dawn. The actor had enjoyed many years of success, hosting television programs like AM Express and movies like October 1, for which he won the Africa Movie Academy Award for Best Actor for his role as Inspector Waziri in 2015. DABA announced his diagnosis of leukemia and prostate cancer in 2017. On 3rd February 2018, DABA joined Project Pink Blue to work against cancer to commemorate World Cancer Day. He died on 3rd March 2021 at the Ayinke General Hospital in Ikeja, Lagos. On this edition of Exclusive Interview, a legendary broadcaster, producer of Cockerel at Dawn, and longtime close friend to Sadiq DABA, Peter Igo, reminisces about the project that launched DABA's career and became probably the most iconic and influential series in Nigerian television history.
Welcome back. Well, today I am especially proud because joining me right here in the studio is a giant of the industry. He's a legendary broadcaster, Peter Igo. He's one of the brains behind Cockerel at Dawn. And let us start from there, but first of all, I would just love to welcome you to the program.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Happy to be here.
Okay. Well, one of the things, sadly, we lost Sadiq DABA, who, was a towering figure that was looked up to by so many, especially those of us who were, junior to him in the industry. But one of the things that I noticed was Cockerel at Dawn kept on coming up. It was almost a rediscovery of that series. And you made it happen. Tell us the story of Cockerel at Dawn.
Well, Cockerel actually was the first in many ways. It broke new grounds. It was the first ever television drama series shot entirely on location. It was the first television drama series with dedicated facilities, equipment for production. It was the first television series for which a theme song and the theme music was composed, and so on and so forth. And Cockerel actually came from, in 1979, the thought came from, maybe before that, because if you recall, I don't know, if you do 1977, many of the state television stations at that time in 77 before, were owned by state government organizations. Then in 1977, the existing 12 state television stations were amalgamated under one umbrella called NTA. Mm-hmm. That was how NTA was born. Then 1978, NTA, to showcase its oneness now of those television stations, organized a drama competition among the 12 TV stations. I wrote, produced, and directed the entry from Sokoto, where I was a pioneer member, and we came first.
Was that Moment of Truth?
Moment of Truth. So, when in 1979, the then president, Obasanjo, came up with his Operation Feed the Nation. The NTA, seeing the success of the drama competition and how much people loved the drama, that competition, decided to support government with a television series and the drama. And because I produced the winning entry of that competition, I was brought from Sokoto to Lagos to now sit down and come up with a program that would help support government endeavors. That's how Cockerel was born. It was basically an agricultural, it started as an agricultural program, of course, to help discourage rural-urban migration, encourage Nigerians to take up agriculture, and all that. But of course, we knew that if it wasn't entertaining, none of those objectives would be met. And so we ensured I put together a team of writers, Iriana Kimio, Jabadu, Femi Jarrett, and I remember in the moment, 4 of them, and gave them a brief as to what I wanted, and that's how we started Cockerel Dawn. They wanted me to produce it in Lagos, but I was born in Jos, grew up in Jos, and I knew of the beautiful environment. Initially, the production was supposed to take place in Lagos, but I said, no. I mean, with the traffic situation in Lagos, with the distances from where we could possibly camp the artists and all that, I knew that I would be handicapped from the beginning. So I chose Jos, and I was allowed the leeway to choose where I wanted. So I chose
Which
Jos.
is my home city.
Well, exactly.
So I take special ownership of Cockerel.
Yes, I was born there too. I grew up there, and for me, Jos is home. So I took, and it helped the production. So Jos became our location, but to start, and I haven't written the scripts. I needed to cast, and quite incidentally, I started with Sadiq. The first person I was sure of was Sadiq DABA. Way back in Sokoto, Sadiq was with me. He was in the news department. He had come. We were pioneer members with Madaze and a few others from 1975. I had known Sadiq. He had been in Kano through friends, Idi Farouk and a few others. They told me about this exuberant guy who was in customs, and he had so many stories about him and all that. So even before I met him, I had known about him. And then he met Halifa Bamed in Kaduna, who had him interviewed and auditioned, and he was employed in Kaduna. Then years later, the Maugi, who became our second general manager, was appointed from Kaduna, and he came with a few people, and Sadiq was one of them. So he was the news department cover. I was head of drama, well, the only member of the drama department. I was producing drama in English and Hausa and all. And I never, in all my productions, I never had a formal audition. When I was writing, I looked at various people, and I had them in mind when I was writing. And so when we put Cockerel together, my first cast was Sadiq Daba. Because they did very well
for the role of Beatrice.
So having gotten the son, a father, wife, a daughter, and a son, and having chosen Sadiq as the son, and I had to walk backwards now to find out who would be as the sister. Now, fortunately, Sadiq and Tola Awobode, who played Larry, the sister, were a moment of truth. And then it was easy for me to get Sadiq, then Larry, then the father. Now I thought, okay, growing up in Jos, I looked around and thought about who was who, and I said, yes, someone who could pass as Sadiq's father and who looked like him was George Menta. And so when both of them stand together, you can see, you even think he's the father of.
That's right.
So we had gotten the father and the children. The difficult one was then Zemaye. And we searched, I went to Sonioti in the University of Jos, the theater arts department. They brought out all their actresses and all their students and all that. None of them was good enough. I walked around hotels, wherever I went, I was looking out for Zemaye. I couldn't find her. Then Sonioti remembered, there's one of my students who was passed out, but she's in Makurdi or so. And can I send for her? I said, well, let's try. So he sent a vehicle, they brought her. And she walked in, and I said, oh my God, she's too young. She's too young, she won't do. And she was so disappointed. I felt bad because she had left her job, came all the way from, she had been told, oh, Peter Ego is working on something new, you must be part of it. And so she dropped everything to come. And then as soon as she walked in, I said she wasn't good.
Mm-hmm. Because Sadiq Daba and Ene are very much close in age.
No, Ene Aloja is older than Sadiq.
Okay.
She's older, not just, she's not close. Sadiq is, Sadiq is older.
Sadiq is older.
But yes.
Yeah. And she was supposed to play his mother.
So that was the dilemma. Here she walked in, young, pretty girl, and Sadiq was already, even though could play the child. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, let's make you up. Made her up. She didn't play the part. Mm. But when we went to do a test run on set, and I said action, and she immediately transformed before our very eyes and became this matronly, motherly person. And Zemaya was born. So that's how we got them, starting from Sadiq Daba.
It was really stunning because I always thought that Ene Aloja was old enough to be Sadiq's mother.
No.
But she is my sister's very close friend.
Yes.
So when I finally met her, I was like, my goodness, she's so young.
Very young.
How did she pull this off? But I guess it's credit to her acting ability.
Very, very. It was her acting ability. Because she would be the young girl and all that, and Sadiq would be the elderly one and all that. But the moment you said action, they both transformed. Sadiq would be the child, and she the mother. And it really went sometimes beyond the front of the camera, because sometimes outside when we were resting and all that, after when I taking a break, and Sadiq, if he wanted to get something from Ene, would continue to play the child, and of course, mommy, please look, my mom, look, and then and she couldn't say no to Sadiq whenever it was Beatrice. When he was not Beatrice, she could say no, but when he turned on the Beatrice act, she was like butter in his hands.
What was he like on set? What was he like to work with?
Sadiq, now, you know, in every production, you have the quintessential troublemaker. If you heard there was any issue on set, or I mean out on behind the camera before production, invariably Sadiq will be part of that issue. And but because he and I had built up this strong relationship as a friend first, then as one of my cast, and then one of my staff, and all that, he also knew that I had a soft spot for him, and he never took advantage of it. So whatever happened, the moment they said we're going to tell Peter, things would change. And so I never really caught him, if you like, with being cantankerous or whatever. And he was that a lot of times. And but no matter what he was, and he would be free with his cigarettes and occasional drink and all that. The moment I called, said, okay, action on set, Sadiq transformed immediately. He became the professional. And he did that not just on my drama productions, even on as a newscaster or as a news presenter. Sadiq would be all there chatting and speaking. He would go into Creole, he would go into Pidgin English, or Hausa. We spoke Hausa most of the time, and all that. The moment he said, okay, Sadiq said, we're ready to go. And he sat in front of that camera. Sadiq became the professional. So that is that's one unique thing about him. You never saw anything but professionalism when he's in front of the camera, whether it was for news, whether for drama, or for whatever.
Well, we'll have to take a break right now, but we'll come back with more memories of Sadiq Daba. We'll also be talking about the state of the broadcast industry in Nigeria today. So don't go away. We will be right back.
The typical African woman does not believe in the capacity she carries. We have a lot has been deposited in us. We have to accept that those things are there.
There are so many programs there to support agriculture, but women are not accessing it because of collateral.
We need to carry the grassroots women along because they are the ones who do production. Sometimes the lady at the grassroots needs some kind of push and a kind of expansion on how best to take this product where she make a fantastic profit.
It's about repositioning our ways of doing things. We are forgetting our tradition and culture in Africa. Parents need to go back to being parents. We need to keep advocating for girl-child education.
Welcome back to Exclusive Interview. We're still spending time in the studio with Peter Ego, the legendary broadcaster, and the inspiration behind Cockroach at Dawn, which starred Sadiq Daba, who sadly passed away. More memories from Sadiq. Cockroach at Dawn was not the only project you worked on with him. I think you went on to do Behind the Clouds, which was also immensely successful.
Yes. Behind the Clouds again was, I had opened the camp in Jos. And when, in between even Cockroach at Dawn, sometimes we shot movies, telemovies we called them at that time. And of course, studied many of them. And then I left Cockroach after 78 episodes. I shot, I started working on celluloid with the first 13 episodes. Then when the technology became,
I learned that. It started with celluloid.
Yes.
So this was serious business.
Yes, very serious business. And I'll come to that later when talking about how seriously organizations take content. So we started on film, 13 episodes. And then when the technology was possible for lightweight cameras to be used outside the studio, then we reverted to the video cameras. And I shot a total of 78 episodes. Then someone else was appointed. Well, after a while, when Cockroach was rested, rather than disband the camp, we decided to continue. And that's how come we used the same Jos camp for Behind the Clouds, where Sadiq played a completely different character. He was himself now, if you like, the ebullient, carefree, young, handsome chap. Charismatic chap. So that was Sadiq. I mean, he has so much ability as an actor that his range was wide. He could play the rascal, he could play the little child, he could play the responsible father, he could play whatever role he gave to Sadiq to play, he would do with absolute accuracy.
Wow. Well, he was such a professional. But there were others too. I want to go back to Cockroach and talk about Casimiro. Maybe he's less talked about these days, but because he belonged to a different generation.
Yes.
But for me, he was an icon because he was brilliant at slapstick comedy, physical comedy, and he was certainly one of the funniest people ever to grace the Nigerian television screen.
In every generation, you meet someone who stands out. And is irreplaceable. Casimiro is one. Sadiq Daba is also another. And it was not by accident that the two of them were the life of the camp.
Who can forget Uncle Gaga?
Uncle Gaga was, I had a lot of issues with Uncle Gaga. And when I had cast the Bello family and all the others, the first other person that I knew, there was no discussion about who will be Uncle Gaga. Because even as we put it together, the character of Uncle Gaga, I knew who was going to be Uncle Gaga, Casimiro. Mischievous, very professional, very creative, brilliant, and very soft and kind off camera. But when he was in front of the camera and played Uncle Gaga, I mean, nobody was tougher or more
cool.
It's amazing. So, but he was so fundamental, so powerful, and important to the production that he also had his own things. I would go to pick Kasim up. I usually go myself. With the others, I would send the vehicle to go and pick them. But with Kasim, I have to drive to Zaria myself. He wouldn't come with anybody else. So I would drive to Zaria myself, pick him from his favorite spot in the club, straight into my car. I would have passed by his house and the wife would simply hand me his bag and straight to the camp. We'll get to the camp, I will put him in the room next to mine, and he will be the first to wake up, be the first to wear his costume. First, he did his makeup himself. And by the time we got into the van to go to the location where we shot, 4 miles from town and one area on the road to Zaria, you branched off and you went to, that's where we had our permanent camp. Casimiro would regale everybody with all kinds of stories that everybody would laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. You get to the set, and you then make a mistake of saying, okay, well, let me start with this. This is my shooting schedule starts with Bello and Zemai and all that. Then after about an hour, I'll come to he'll say, no problem. I will sit down quietly. In between shooting, he'll come to you and say, please listen, can I just take a stroll and walk around? I say, why not? I'm not coming to you until another 1 hour. Then you're ready for Kasimu, and then you can't find Kasimu. And looked around for him to the bush, get people to search for him. Then somebody would say, "Come, are you looking for Uncle Gaga?" I said, "Yes." I saw him on a bicycle riding towards Gurum, towards that junction, and I knew exactly what had happened. He would go straight on a bicycle in his costume, in his makeup, to the road junction, hop on a bus going to Zaria, go straight to his favorite haunt, and relax. Then the next day I would drive up there, meet him there, no discussion, but just laugh about it, and I'll carry it again. But because it was so important to, he was the villain that everybody loved to hate.
Yeah, he was. I think I would liken him to JR of Dallas,
Exactly, Dallas.
or Alexis of Dynasty. A lovable bad guy.
Lovable bad guy. And if you didn't have him in an episode, you've not.
It didn't work. Yeah.
It didn't work.
Interestingly, after Sadiq's sad passing, he trended on social media. Kokra Dawn also trended, and a lot of people were asking, how they could get to watch these series again. And if you look at what happens in the States, you have lots of series that younger generations have grown up on because they've seen it in reruns.
Yes.
So these were things that were shot long before they were born.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't have the same experience, so it could be a bit difficult for us to get some of these things. So it brought me to the question of archiving. How do we preserve some of these golden nuggets for future generations?
Unfortunately, archiving was something that, or is something that most organizations haven't taken seriously. And I'm sad to say, my organization, I still think of NTA as a family and my home. During our own time, we never took it seriously. We were too intent, busy out there doing our own bit, that was producing content. But how they were kept or preserved was not our responsibility, so we thought. But now, suddenly, you are looking for all of them. So many, we get requests from all over the world. We want to watch Kokro, want to watch Behind the Class, want to watch Village Headmaster, want to watch... And you go and find that there are no proper archives kept, and there are no... even if you do find some programs, episodes or cassettes, they have not been kept in the right conducive atmosphere. So most of them were in decay and all that. But having said that, I'm glad that NTA, where again I keep saying it's my home, have taken it seriously. In fact, they've set up an archival department responsible now to ensure that everything produced, or especially the classics, to find them, and they're busy reaching out to all the stations to trace where those tapes are, and then to see which of them they can clean up and transfer to a digital format for the future. So, but it's something that, for those who are not taking it serious, that they must wake up to take up. Because I went to Italy at one point, a Rai television, and they took me to the library, the physical library, it's about 6-story high. And they had this robotics that when you sit down, just one man in charge of that huge hall. And if he wanted, and he asked me, what would you want me to retrieve? And I said, the very first program is shot in the studio. And he just tapped into the computer, and the title came out.
And it just came out.
He told you where it was, row 6, so and so place. And he pressed the button, and you just saw the robot straight up to the place. The place opened, picked up the tape. In 1 minute, the tape was in front of me. That's how well they preserved it. Then they took me to another place where they had gone to Sony to say, look, we use all of your tapes, but after some time they do get bad. How do we reclaim them? And those ones worked with them and actually manufactured machines that would be used to clean up these old dirty tapes. And then they took me to their digital format, a smaller room, but all materials on digital formats. Smaller space needed and all that. So they took that seriously. There's no program you want in that station that you do not get. Sadly, we in Africa, at least we in Nigeria, we didn't take that seriously. But like I said, it's never too late. And those who are not doing it now must know that. Because at the end of the day, in broadcasting, your content is what makes you. And if you have nothing to show when you talk about your content, then You didn't exist.
And that's it. I'm just looking at the kind of investment that was done at the time. You had a base camp. You were shooting on celluloid. I learned that it was being processed
in London. Because we don't have
London,
facilities here. Processed and edited in London.
So I'm imagining the size of that investment. What sort of investments are we making in content today? Because even as a presenter, I get worried that a lot of our the format that we use in broadcasting today is basically two guys like yourself and I having a chat for 30, 45, 50 minutes, 1 hour.
Nothing good comes by accident. I mean, most good things, you have to plan for them. Now, we sit there talking about Cochrane done today because someone at that time thought about what should be done. And Cochrane in the books of NTA is what we call Programs Project 2. Now, the DG that time, Maduka, the pioneer DG of NTA, he, after many years of NTA, realized that NTA would not make a strong mark if all it had was what he called perishable programs. For him, perishable programs were all discussion programs,
there were no
two people talking heads and all that. Those were perishable programs. Those ones you can afford. You don't really have to start them. Then he said, we must have non-perishable programs, that the NTA must be known for something bigger than just those perishable programs. And so at management level, it was decided that every year, NTA would invest its resources and facilities in one major production, at least. And the very first one the management invested on was a documentary series called Portrait of a Culture. And a hero that was brought to produce that. Unfortunately, they produced only about 4 episodes, and there were issues, and it kind of died down. Then Cochrane was Programs Project 2. And it was the first time that NT was now putting, before then, like you know, in every station then, if you wanted to, you had a production, you fill the form, apply for a camera, and of course, among they schedule you for when you will get the camera. You book for a vehicle, you book for all the things you needed and all that, for editing room and all that. And you were scheduled among others. But Cochrane, like Program Project 1, had its dedicated facilities. We were given resources to move to a camp. We had our cameras, we had our vehicles, we were on our own, and we had all the resources we needed. And that's why today we're talking about Cochrane done, because the management invested in it. And so, for all those who today are who own broadcast houses, in the future, nobody will sit down discussing, two people sat and discussed this with talk shows and talking heads. If you do not invest in what we call non-perishable programs, documentaries, musicals, drama series, feature films, and all that.
Anything that would generally last forever.
Well, yes. You have to invest well to get the benefit. And for many of them who also say, oh, the resources are not there, you will not get the resources if you don't have good content. It's the content that brings in the resources. In my last years in NTA, I was the executive director of marketing. And they were surprised when, as the quintessential producer, I was always arguing for resources to be given to my colleague in the program department. And they said, you should be arguing for us. I said, no, unless you produce good quality, I cannot get nothing to sell. So,
all right, I think we are very quickly approaching the end of the program. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to share these golden memories with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't go away. We'll be right back. There's a wind of change blowing over Nigeria, and it's coming from the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. If you want to find out how TETFund is bringing the Nigerian government, industry, and the academia together to drive a new knowledge economy, tune in to this station every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for TETFund, the paradigm shift. It's informative, it's innovative, and it's exciting. TETFund, the paradigm shift. Proudly produced by 84 TV Radio. Well, Sadiq DABA was certainly an iconic actor. Cochrane at Dawn, an iconic series, once upon a time in the history of Nigeria. But there was something else that was quite iconic, and that is the soundtrack, the song written and produced by Bongo Sikwe. It was called Cockerel at Dawn, and that is what we would like to leave you with. That's it on Exclusive Interview. Until we come your way again next time, thank you for stopping by.
Hear the birds sing in the morning. You can hear the water splashing down the hill, kind of roaring. You can see the sun going down.